Hi guys, it's April, and since it is the beginning of April, that's the only time that sentence makes sense in multiple different ways. It's April. But since it is now April, that means I have to do my March wrap-up. Now, before I get too far into my March wrap-up, I just want to kind of throw this out there just so that you guys kind of know about this, but I have hit 5,000 subscribers, which is absolutely phenomenal. It's not something I ever really saw happening, but I've been doing this because it's so much fun and I love getting to know you guys. But because there are now 5,000 of you, I would like to do an assumption video and a giveaway. So if you leave your assumption down below, I will put you in that video, and not only that, I will have a giveaway for $50 to Amazon associated with that video. So I highly recommend that you subscribe if you want notifications that that video is up and a thing. But that is kind of what I'm thinking to celebrate 5,000 of your beautiful faces, because you guys are awesome. And that was my little plug. I will now just get right into what I read for March. In the middle of March, we had a round of Read-A-Rama. I have a completely different wrap-up video for the books that I read during that week. This is going to be everything outside of that. So if you want to know what I read then, I highly recommend that you click the link. I never know which direction the link is actually. So anywhere above my head or down below, that link will be there. But for the rest of the month, I read a total of 5 more books, bringing the monthly total to 10 books, which brings the yearly total to 38 books. Now, I could break down how many pages I read just for this section of March, but because of how I did my Read-A-Rama wrap-up, I'm not entirely sure. But for the whole month of March, I read 3,581 pages, bringing my yearly total to 13,164 pages. I have hit 13K. I am so excited about that. I don't know why. I just am. I love the number 13. So yeah. So at this point of the year, I'm on average reading about 146 pages a day, and it's taking me about 2 days to read a book of various lengths. I don't know if that's going to keep up because I have slowed way down, but things might pick up because summer is coming and I'm kind of excited. But I will just get into the 5 books that I read for the rest of March, because that is why you're here. The first book I read in March is My Plain Jane by various different authors. I can't recall all of them off the top of my head, so see image. My Plain Jane is a retelling of Jane Eyre with a twist of ghost, and Charlotte Bronte actually in the story as well, which means it was quite a humorous read, and I enjoyed it for all of the little snarky bits in the way the characters came together and just the drama that happened throughout this book. It tells the story almost as if Charlotte Bronte knew Jane Eyre and was trying to write her story and took a little liberty because the real thing was kind of hard to believe. I like this Jane series that these authors are doing. This is the first book of that I have read. I'm probably going to go back and read a couple more of the Jane books because so far I approve of all of the shenanigans that this book has. The next book I read is Peeps by Scott Westerfeld. This is the story of Cal, who is, in essence, a vampire hunter, but in this case they're called Peeps because instead of it being a vampiric virus that's transmitted, it's more of a parasitic thing that's going on. I don't even know how to explain it, but this book is interweaved with a whole bunch of parasitic information, facts, things that kind of really totally gross me out. But I do like how it took vampire lore and it twisted it into its own little thing. That was kind of exciting to see. I don't think I'm going to be continuing on in this series because even though I did like the character of Cal and how Scott Westerfeld took the story and made it completely his own with his own set of vampiric rules, I wasn't that into all of the other things. And while it was cool to see all of the things that were going on in this story and some of the character development as well, I just didn't relate to a lot of it, and so it's just not really my thing. I think that's my issue there. I then picked up Ghostgirl Homecoming by Tonya Hurley. This is the second book in the Ghostgirl series. This follows Charlotte after her death, and at this point in time she has graduated into the next level of being a ghost. I don't know if that really explains anything, but it further follows Charlotte as she's learning about the afterlife and friendship and growing from there. Now, one thing I do have to say about this read is just the format of this book is kind of fun because it is so long and odd and different, and plus the pages are so pretty. But overall, the story was okay. I liked it better than the first Ghostgirl book, but there were times that it did feel very cliche, and there were points in which the characters, they didn't feel as developed as I wanted to be, and they felt a little flat. I know this is more of a middle grade read, and therefore some of the characters read that way because of the audience she's trying to hit, but at the same time, I feel like you could build it up maybe just a little more. I don't know, maybe, possibly. The next book I read is Slayer by Kiersten White. This is set in the Buffy universe, which is why I was super excited to read this book, and oh my gosh, I loved it. Just a spoiler right there. I have a full review over this book if you want to hear more in depth about everything that happened with my face as I read this book, so I will link that up above and down below. But this story follows Nina and her sister Artemis, who were born into the Watchers Council, and everything that has affected them up to that point because of Buffy's choices in the Buffyverse. Nina has never been a huge fan of the Slayer because of several different reasons, but then ultimately she finds herself with Slayer powers and she doesn't quite know how to handle it. This follows her journey as she's dealing with what it means to be a Slayer. She's growing into all of the things that she thought she knew about pretty much everything. And at the same time, you get little hints of the Buffyverse. You get to see a little bit of Buffy, you get to see a little bit of Faith. This takes place a little ways through the comic series, but you don't have to have read the comics or even seen a lot of the Buffy series. Though I do highly recommend that you do have some foreknowledge of everything going on, because just those little details make this book that much sweeter. Because as I was reading this book, I got a lot of Scooby nostalgia going on. So I'm excited to see where the rest of the series goes, because there are some things that go down that yes. And last but not least, I read A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Brigid Kemmerer. This was the Tell It Again book club book pick of the month of March. So Shae and I did a full-on live show in which we dove into this book because both of us had a lot of thoughts. So check that out. I highly recommend that. But be warned, there are spoilers in that because we just go into the book because we had words. Let's just say that. We had words. This is a Beauty and the Beast retelling centered around Harper, who lives in DC, who has cerebral palsy, and her family is struggling a little bit, and suddenly she finds herself in a completely different world where Prince Ren is dealing with a lot of his own stuff. A lot. And if you can't guess, he has been cursed. And it follows these characters along the Beauty and the Beast storyline, but it has its own little twists and turns. In this book, I liked seeing the slow development of the relationship between these two. It isn't one of those instant love stories. You get to see things build, you get to see characters start to develop, and it takes a little twist on the curse that I actually really enjoyed. So if you like Beauty and the Beast, I think you should try this one. Now, I will warn you, this is the first book in a series. I don't know how the rest of the series goes. There are points where I'm okay with this just being on its own, but there are points where I'm like, yes, I need more. Please. There are certain characters that I don't want to name because spoilers and all that kind of stuff, that I need to know more things that happen with them because I'm just gonna flail. That brings out all of my feelings. So those are the books that I have read for March. April is now beginning. I feel the reading mood coming on, and I'm super excited about it. Remember to leave your assumptions down below so that you can be featured in my next video. I'm hoping to get that up on Friday. So leave comments down below, and I heart your beautiful faces. Bye.